Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new, welcome. My name is Yana and this is The Scented. We talk mainly about fragrances, and in today's video, I'm sharing my entire Chanel fragrance collection, plus a little bit of a shopping guide to help you guys along and choose the right Chanel fragrance for you based on their scent profiles and their longevity, and basically like a quick full review of each one from the house to help you guys along. So I have all of my beautiful Chanel fragrances on this little tray next to me, and I'll go through each one. These are all of my full bottles, plus I have a few decants and some samples, so I'll comment on those as well. But we're gonna get right into it, and we are gonna start with one of my first ones that I acquired in my collection, and still one of my absolute favorites, and that is the original Coco Mademoiselle. So my bottle is almost halfway done, and this one I was obsessed with when I first got it. I couldn't stop wearing it, and this is what I always call a citrus, rose, and patchouli for people who hate citrus or rose or patchouli. It opens up with a beautiful burst of orangey citrus notes, and then the rose comes into play and all these other beautiful florals. There's mimosa, jasmine as well, lots of different florals. And it has this classic Chanel touch. Like, it's got a little bit of like a little Chanel fizzle. It's got a little bit of that, there's no aldehyde notes in here, but it does have that classic Chanel touch that all of them have. They all have this sort of like fizzle. The patchouli is really beautiful. This is like the classic Chanel patchouli that's in here. There's also some musk and a little bit of vanilla. And the way that everything combines in here, it's just like a really bright, feminine, pretty fragrance. Like, this is really properly named as Mademoiselle. This is something that would appeal to even a younger crowd. Like, even my sister, who's 17, would love this, and she does love it, and she's loved it since even just a few years ago. This just happens to appeal to a much broader audience, so there's a reason why this is one of the top sellers in the world. It's very, very popular. Basically, everybody loves it. You won't smell unique with this, but you will smell absolutely beautiful, and I don't really care about its popularity. I still wear it very frequently. I just think it's such a beautiful, flawless, elegant, feminine, like young, sophisticated scent. So that is Coco Mademoiselle. And make sure that you guys stay tuned until the very end of the video, because I will share with you guys my favorite 3 Chanel fragrances at the moment. So that's what I always like to do, is I always like to share my personal favorites at the very end. So the next one that we have is the Intense. And the Chanel Coco Mademoiselle Intense is a little bit different. It's a little bit of a newer fragrance, so it did come out just a few years ago. And this one, it opens up much sweeter than the original Coco Mademoiselle. And I have done a full review of the original Coco Mademoiselle and then the Intense side by side, so you guys can check that video out next. But basically, this opens up much sweeter, but it dries down to a much more earthy patchouli scent. So it is still very beautiful. A lot of people do prefer this. I feel like it's probably more for the cooler weather, just because of the extra depth, that extra tonka bean that's in there, and the extra patchouli. It is sweeter, it is heavier. It's less bright, still very beautiful, a little bit more earthy, but yeah, for a full in-depth review, you guys can check out that other video. I won't get too into each fragrance, just because we have a lot to get through. And finally, from the Coco Mademoiselle trio, we have the Eaux Privee night fragrance. This one came out last year, so in 2020, and this one is meant to be worn in the evenings as a lighter kind of winding down scent. So it's not night in the sense of going out in the night, it's more night in the sense of hanging out, winding down, and like getting ready for sleep. This is like your sleep Coco Mademoiselle. And this is simplified, and it's a lot lighter. So it's got the citrus, it's got the rose, musk, and I don't think there's actually patchouli in here, but it still smells like there is. But it's very, very subtle. And this fragrance has very poor projection and very poor longevity. So you're probably going to be the only one smelling this on yourself. Other people probably will not smell it unless they come very, very close to you. That's just kind of how it's meant to be. Do I think it's worth it? Probably not. I think you're best off just going with the original Coco Mademoiselle, unless you're very sensitive to the original Coco Mademoiselle, because I know some people get headaches. So if you're one of those people that's very sensitive, then maybe this one's worth trying. But in terms of performance, it is very, very poor. I honestly, personally don't reach for this one very often. It's a pretty scent. It's a simplified Coco Mademoiselle without the patchouli, but still that classic Chanel fizzle. Simplified, easy, very light, very not long lasting. So like when I say not long lasting, I really mean about an hour. About an hour, maybe an hour and a half if you're lucky. It does not last. And the actual scent bubble is small. It is very, very close to the skin. So that is the L'Eau Privée. Next up is the Coco Eau de Parfum. This one came out in the 80s. This is a much spicier fragrance. I splashed that in my face. It's very, very clove-centric. It's still got the rose, but it has civet. So now I don't believe that they use natural civet, but this has almost this like pungent animalic smell a little bit, but it does go away after you wear it, and it almost turns a little bit soapy. It helps those florals really come out. So that's why civet is used, is like to make the florals really shine in a fragrance. And this is a very spicy, warm, ambery, rosy 80s fragrance. This does smell a little bit more mature, especially compared to the Coco Mademoiselle. And to my nose, this is probably like the most mature smelling Chanel. It's still very beautiful, but it's quite spicy. It's quite complex. It has a lot going on there. And this would definitely be a cooler weather scent. I wouldn't wear this in the spring and summer at all. It's just too warm and dense and rich, ambery, spicy to wear in the heat. I feel like it would be cloying, it would be overwhelming, and just too overpowering. This is a beautiful fragrance for the cooler weather, but it is the most mature Chanel fragrance in my opinion. And next up is Coco Noir. This one I wore so much in the fall and winter. I haven't been reaching for it as much these days, but this is a really beautiful kind of grown-up version of Coco Mademoiselle, I find. It's just a little bit more spicy. It's a little bit more warm. It has a clove note. It has more depth, and it has a little bit more patchouli. So this one, it's so sexy. This one is such a sexy Chanel fragrance. This is probably the sexiest Chanel fragrance, and this one gets me a lot of compliments as well, but it doesn't project as much as the Coco Mademoiselle. So you still have your citruses and your rose and patchouli, but there's a lot more complexity in this fragrance, and it's a lot warmer and spicier. This is definitely like a little bit more mature than Coco Mademoiselle. I can't see like younger crowds really gravitating towards this as much. I would be surprised, but it's a really, really elegant, sophisticated, kind of grown-up version for those who enjoyed Coco Mademoiselle. I feel like this would be your next step up. It's not a similar scent. It's not really the same scent profile. It has some of the same notes and that same Chanel fizzle and that same Chanel quality, but a lot more complex, deep, and spicy. So this one I absolutely love. Then we have the OG, the classic Chanel No. 5 Eau de Parfum. 2021 marks 100 years of Chanel No. 5. This fragrance is 100 years old and still going strong. And this one I absolutely love. I did not like this. Like I always tell you guys, I did not like this before I turned 30. The original Eau de Parfum. I am obsessed with this. It is so beautiful. It's like, I describe it as somebody takes soap bubbles and just like blows soap bubbles into your nose. That's like the opening burst of it. And then it dries down to like a much softer, powderier, soapy smell with the florals. There's ylang in here. There's iris. It's nice and powdery. There's rose, jasmine, lily of the valley. You have like all the like classic floral notes. And a undeniable soapiness. It's really pretty. It's very feminine. It's very classic old Hollywood vibes. Like it is very sophisticated smelling. It is quite mature. Like I would be surprised if I knew someone under 30 to whom this appealed to. Honestly, like for me, I struggled with it until after 30. So it's just that kind of fragrance, a little bit more complex that like I think your nose needs to kind of mature to understand it. But oh my god, it is breathtaking. And this one gets me a lot of compliments when I wear it. It's just so lovely. So that is the Eau de Parfum. But I also really love the L'Eau. So the Chanel number 5 L'Eau is a brighter, fresher, more crisp, kind of effervescent number 5. It's more citrusy. It's not like the Eau Premiere, which is more vanilla-y. This one is more citrusy. This one smells to me like kind of like sparkling water, like lemony sparkling water. And still with those aldehydes, still with that soapiness, but not quite as soapy. This is perfect for the summer. And this one I think appeals to just a broader range of age groups. Like I love this one early on. I love this one like in my 20s, albeit late 20s, but 20s nonetheless. Like basically ever since it came out, I've loved this fragrance. Just something about it sparkles and shines, and it makes you feel sophisticated and in charge and like a boss lady, but not like in your face, just like very subtle, very classy, very beautiful. And yeah, it's the perfect one for the summer. The Eau Premiere I also really want to get. It's also lighter than the Eau de Parfum, but it's a little bit more vanilla centric. So yeah, I'm just working my way through this, and I have a backup bottle of this. So once those are done, at least once one of them is done, maybe I'll get the Eau Premiere. Or, you know, if I ever see it on a sale or somebody selling it secondhand, maybe I'll grab it. But for now, I don't have it. I've only smelled it in store, and it's also very beautiful, also would appeal to a broader audience. Okay, now let's have a visit with my Les Eaux. I have 2 from the Chanel Les Eaux collection. These are all very refreshing, bright, summery fragrances that you're basically meant to overspray. And so this is the Paris Riviera. This is very neroli centric. This is all about neroli. So you have to be a neroli lover for this, which I'm not, but I actually really, really like this. It's very soft. It's not bitter. It's a little bit powdery. And I think I love it because it's accompanied by jasmine. When there's jasmine, I love it. So this one, it is all about the neroli. There's some citrusy notes and some sandalwood in the base, but you do get mostly this like soft, almost powdery neroli scent. It's really lovely. I actually loved this the first moment that I sprayed it, and then I went on the hunt for a bottle and I bought mine secondhand. These ones can be found for very inexpensive if you can find them secondhand. I mean, just initially they're not even that expensive because it's a $125 bottle, and I guess because it's a lighter fragrance, they're not like as expensive as the Chanel like Les Exclusives or some of the other Chanel fragrances. These ones are relatively affordable. That's super refreshing, great for the summer, and very, very easy to wear. And the other one that I have from the Les Eaux collection is the Paris Biarritz. This one, let's give it a spray. I haven't sprayed this one in a long time, actually. So this one is more of like a refreshing burst of citrus. It still has neroli, but it has a lot more other citrusy notes. There's tangerine, orange, all kinds of citrus. And it's a lot more like bright and crisp and fresh, whereas the Paris Riviera, that one was like almost like powdery and soft citrus, if that makes any sense. But this one is citrus like you would expect it. It's refreshing, it's pleasant, it's not super unique. Of the 2 that I have, I do prefer the Paris Riviera personally, even though I'm not a neroli fan, but it just works for me. And this one is still pretty, but it's just less unique, it's less outstanding. It's a nice citrus scent, but there's a lot of nice citrus scents out there. So this one really doesn't offer anything too unique, if I'm being fully honest with you guys. Next up is Chanel Gabrielle Essence. I've almost worn the whole bottle. I loved this. I wore it so much last summer. I didn't wear it this summer yet, but this is white florals all the way. This is tuberose. This is so fresh. This is like Chanel version of J'adore. Like ylang, jasmine, white flowers, citrusy, musky, soft, very feminine. Very like motherly and comforting. I really love this scent. I think this would be like the perfect mom scent or the perfect like young teacher scent. It's so lovely. It's just like, it's very welcoming and pleasant. I just love it. I think it's very elegant and very, very feminine and ladylike. So This one I love way more than the original Gabrielle. Like, this one just has something special. The original Gabrielle didn't really stand out to me, and I'm not really sure what was lacking, but the essence is like on another level. It is so beautiful, and this is not a typical Chanel fragrance. Like, this doesn't really have that Chanel fizzle that I find in a lot of the other fragrances. This one's different, and there is no patchouli in this fragrance. So for people that are really sensitive to patchouli, this one doesn't have it, so you're safe to play. However, if you are a patchouli lover, then Chanel Chance is the line for you, especially the Eau de Toilette and the Eau de Parfum. Those two are all about patchouli. It's a really beautiful, kind of clean patchouli note. It has some pepper. It has a lot of beautiful, well, the Eau de Toilette has a lot of beautiful, like, fruity notes as well, like pineapple. There's hyacinth. It smells like a little bit soapy and clean. It's really nice. The patchouli is not a dirty patchouli. It's dry, it's a little bit earthy. It has that classic Chanel touch. It smells very expensive. It smells very elegant, as most Chanels do. They smell very elegant, and that's kind of the appeal of the whole Chanel brand. And yeah, I absolutely love the Eau de Toilette. I love that little bit of like that pink pepper kick in the opening. And then I do get a little bit more florals, like the jasmine and the iris as it develops. But really it's about this like nice, dry, earthy patchouli. It's woody, it's sophisticated, it's clean. And I think that this one would appeal to a very broad audience as well. Like, I know people in their 20s that really love this. And I know people like my grandma, almost 80, who loves this. And it smells different on everyone. So I think this one is like very mass appealing, very lovable, very kind of... It's not mass appealing in the sense that it's a boring scent. It's mass appealing that it happens to just appeal to a broad spectrum of people in different ages, and it's wonderful. Like, this one is really a huge hit. But I personally prefer the Eau de Toilette. There's also the Eau de Parfum, which I have a little decant of. And the Eau de Parfum doesn't have the pineapple. It doesn't have those fruity notes. It's really more about the patchouli. It's a lot richer and heavier. So this one would be more for the cooler weather for sure. The scent is quite different. It's a lot more peppery. It's a lot more patchouli. It's less fruity. It's less floral. And it's, when it dries down, it's just like a musky patchouli scent. It's pleasant, but it's heavier. So that one is for the cooler weather. Also very lovable as well. But for me personally, I prefer the Eau de Toilette. And then I have a decant of Chanel Chance Eau Fraîche. This is their like citrusy, lemony, fresh summer fragrance. It comes in the green circle bottle, and hence why I decanted it into a green bottle. And it's just lemony, clean, fresh, zingy. It's very zingy. You have to love citrus to love this. I honestly like haven't found a reason to get a full bottle yet, just because I have so many other citrusy fragrances. And I have the Les Eaux collection, like the Paris Biarritz. That one is fresh and citrusy and bright and zingy enough for me that I don't feel like I need this right now. But it's pleasant, but it's not wow unique. I know a lot of people really love this, and it does develop really nicely on the skin. The paper doesn't do it justice. On the skin, these beautiful florals come out. This like water hyacinth, muskiness, and like really interesting woodiness. They do come out on the skin, and it leaves a really beautiful trail. And I have complimented people when they were wearing this. So the paper really doesn't do it justice. Even like I wore it myself the other day, and I really liked how I smelled, and I liked the air around me. So some magic happens on the skin. So don't judge this fragrance based on just paper. You have to spray it on the skin to like really figure out what it smells like. And I think it's really beautiful, but I'm not gonna get a full bottle for now for myself until I run out of some other citrusy, bright, fresh fragrances. But this one is a huge hit in general with people. It is very popular, and it does appeal to like a broad crowd, and the longevity on it is actually pretty decent. It will last like 5 to 6 hours, which is not bad for a citrusy fragrance. So that is Chance Eau Fraîche, and I have the Chance Eau Vive, which I really love. And this one is a citrusy one as well. It says blood orange. It has grapefruit. I love that grapefruit note. It's so lovely. And then the jasmine comes out, and the jasmine really comes out. And the way that it stays like on clothing, it lasts for days. This one is deceiving in the opening because it really just smells like zingy tart citrus. And you don't get that jasmine until a little bit later. But when it comes out and it shines, it's really something special. Like, I really love this one. This one took me by surprise. I was not expecting the Chance Eau Vive to blow me away as much as it did, and I actually really, really love it. And it dries down, like that jasmine still sticks around. When it dries down, it's a little bit more like a soft musky scent and like a little bit powdery. I just really, really love this one. It's one of my favorites from the Chance line. And that one is so underrated. I'm like really surprised that it's not like a fan favorite, because it's so stunning. Like, there's no reason why it shouldn't be, but somehow it's like flying under the radar, and Chance Eau Fraîche gets all the hype, and Chance Eau Tendre gets all the hype, but for some reason, Chance Eau Vive is like somewhere in the back there, and like people forget about it, but it's such a stunner. So finally, we are on Chanel Chance Eau Tendre, which I only have a sample of, and I like this fragrance. I like it, and it's really pleasant, and there's something very girly, very soft and comforting about it. But there's also something about it that hasn't pushed me to buy a full bottle, even though I've worn through so many samples of this. And the one that I have here, this is the Eau de Parfum, but from what I remember, the Eau de Toilette actually smells quite similar. It has a note of quince, which to me, like, it smells a lot like apple, and it actually reminds me a lot of Marc Jacobs Daisy, but it's a lot more sophisticated. So maybe because I have a bottle of Daisy, I don't feel like this. I also have Zara Apple Juice, which is like such a close fragrance to this that I don't feel like I need it just yet. But one day I will definitely get a bottle of Chance Eau Tendre. I just feel like it's so soft, it's so subtle. It doesn't really stand out too much. It's very likable, but it's a little bit boring. It's a little bit boring. Really pleasant, and it has its place. But for me, I feel like it's, even though nice, and I can't say anything wrong about this fragrance. Like, I smell it and it smells nice, rosy, fresh, clean, very much like Daisy, but I'm not wowed by it. So I don't know, for the Chanel price point, I guess that's what's deterring me. So yeah, that is my least favorite of the Chanel Chance line. And now that I've gone through all of my Chanel fragrances, and I've left the men's ones out of this video, these are just my women's Chanel fragrances. But now that we're at the end, I'll share with you guys my favorite 3, and I would love for you guys to comment down below and let me know your favorite 3 Chanel fragrances, or more if you have more. Let me know your favorites. I would love to see what kind of stands out as a crowd favorite in your guys' comments. But my favorite 3 are...
2 hours later.
Okay, I can't do 3. I'm looking at my whole collection and I just can't do 3. I'm gonna do 4. I'm sorry. I'm cheating in my own video, but one of my favorites is Coco Noir. I'm just not reaching for it as often right now because it's more of a cooler weather scent. Then I love my number 5s. They go together. I can't choose one of them. They're together. They're a duo. So this is my other favorite. And then I couldn't choose between Chance and Coco Mademoiselle because this has been in my collection the longest and I have a personal attachment to it. So I love it, and even though I don't reach for it as much these days, I still love it. Like, it's still one of my favorites. And then the Chanel Chance is probably like one of my current day favorites. So that is my whole Chanel fragrance collection. It's huge. And kind of a shopping guide to help you guys along and figure out which one would be the best suitable for you. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to give it a big thumbs up. And if you guys have made it this far, then please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Just shimmy on down and give it a click, and it'll help me grow as a channel. It'll help us grow as a community, and we can keep doing fun fragrance things together. And that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye!